Broke dad stopped a thief grabbing her purse, unaware she was a billionaire who'd become his wife. Jason Miller had $2.37 left in his bank account and a hole in the sole of his left shoe. The sun was setting on a frigid Tuesday in downtown Chicago, and the cold seeped into his bones like it was trying to stay there for the winter. His little girl, Emily, was waiting for him at their one-room apartment, likely sitting on the floor with her homework spread across the threadbare rug they'd rescued from a neighbor's trash. Jason clutched a bag of discount cereal and a dented can of soup, dinner for two on the kind of budget that made miracles seem like grocery items. As he trudged past the bustling crowd outside a ritzy cafe, Jason's attention snagged on a woman stepping out of a sleek black town car. She was dressed in an ivory coat, her auburn hair shining under the golden glow of the streetlights. She looked like she didn't have a care in the world. Jason might have admired her from a distance and kept walking, if it weren't for the man lurking nearby. It happened fast. A blur of movement, a sudden shout. The man, a wiry figure in a hoodie, lunged toward the woman, grabbing her purse and jerking it violently from her shoulder. Without thinking, Jason dropped his grocery bag. "Hey!" he shouted, and sprinted after the thief. His lungs burned as he chased the man through a narrow alleyway. Jason wasn't a cop. He wasn't strong or fast. He was a broke dad who hadn't run farther than across the street in months. But what he lacked in strength, he made up for in sheer determination. At the alley's end, Jason lunged. The thief stumbled, hit the pavement hard, and Jason wrestled the purse from his hands just before the man took off again, disappearing into the shadows. Breathless, Jason turned and walked back toward the street. His legs shook, his heart thundered in his chest, but he clung tightly to the bag like it was the last decent thing he could do that day. The woman was still there, eyes wide with shock. You got it back." He nodded, catching his breath. "Yeah. Here." She stared at him. "You could have gotten hurt." "I've been hurt worse," Jason said, trying to smile. "Besides, it wasn't right. He could have hurt you." She looked at him with something between awe and disbelief. "Most people wouldn't have done that." "I'm not most people," Jason said simply. She took her purse and stepped closer, noticing the torn jacket he wore, the thin gloves barely shielding his fingers from the cold. "What's your name?" "Jason. Jason Miller." "I'm Natalie." She paused, then offered a hand. "Come inside. Let me buy you dinner." Jason hesitated. I really need to get home to my daughter." "Bring her," Natalie said with a sudden warmth. "Please. It's the least I can do." That night, Emily sat in a velvet booth, her eyes wide with wonder as she ate macaroni and cheese that cost more than their rent. Jason kept glancing around, half expecting someone to ask them to leave. Natalie, however, just smiled and asked about Emily's school, her favorite books, and how Jason managed to do it all alone. "My wife passed away 3 years ago," Jason said, stirring his coffee. "It's just been me and Emily since." "You're doing an amazing job," Natalie said quietly. Jason shrugged. "I do what I can." They talked for hours. And when Natalie finally stood to leave, she slipped Jason a card. "If you ever need anything," she said, "I mean it. Call me." He looked at the card. Natalie Everhart. CEO, Everhart Global Ventures. Jason's heart stumbled in his chest. He looked up, stunned. "Wait, you're that Natalie Everhart?" She smiled, almost sheepishly. "I usually go unnoticed." "Not today, I guess." He stammered, unsure what to say. "You didn't help me because of who I was," she said gently. "You helped me because it was right." Jason nodded. "I'd do it again." "I know," she said. And then she was gone. Weeks passed. Jason returned to his normal life, if living on the edge of poverty could be called normal. He didn't call Natalie. He didn't want to be seen as a charity case. But one snowy morning, he came home from a night shift to find a note taped to his door. "You didn't ask, so I will. Let me help. Natalie." Attached was a lease agreement for a 2-bedroom apartment, the first 6 months fully paid. There was a job offer, too, operations assistant for a nonprofit she partnered with. Jason stood there, the papers trembling in his hands, unable to speak. He took the job. Life began to shift. Slowly at first, more groceries in the fridge, a warm place to sleep, Emily with new shoes that actually fit. Jason worked hard, learning everything he could. Natalie would check in now and then, casual and kind, always more interested in how Emily was doing than in discussing business. And somehow, they became friends. 2 years later, Jason stood at the back of a fundraiser gala, dressed in a suit that still felt foreign on his shoulders. Natalie was across the room, glowing in a sapphire gown. She caught his eye and smiled. Later that evening, they found themselves walking alone through the quiet garden outside. "You saved my life," she said softly. Jason chuckled. "I saved your purse." "No," she said. "You saved my faith in people." He was quiet for a moment. "I never expected all this. I was just trying to get through the day." She turned to him. "Jason, I don't care what you had or didn't have. That day, you showed me something no amount of money could buy: integrity. Heart." He looked at her, emotions catching in his throat. "You changed our lives, Natalie. I'll never be able to thank you enough." "Then don't thank me," she whispered. "Just, be with me." Jason blinked. "What?" "I've loved you for a while now. Watching you with Emily, seeing how selfless and kind you are. I didn't plan this. But I know it's real." He reached out, gently taking her hand. "I never thought someone like you could love someone like me." She smiled through tears. "I don't see someone like you. I see you. And that's more than enough." A year later, on a crisp spring morning, Jason stood at the altar, holding Natalie's hands as Emily stood beaming beside them. The crowd was filled with people from both their worlds, suits and overalls, diamonds and denim. The vows were simple. Honest. From a broke dad who once chased down a thief, and a billionaire who found something far more valuable than money: love. Epilogue. Jason never became rich. But he never had to worry again. He started a foundation with Natalie, helping struggling single parents find housing, work, and hope. Emily thrived in school, and often told people, "My dad's my hero. He saved a stranger once, and found my second mom." What began with a single act of selflessness became a life transformed. Because sometimes, when you give without expecting anything in return, the universe gives you everything you never dared to ask for. And in the end, it wasn't the money that changed Jason's life. It was love. Real, honest, and unexpected. The kind that reminds us all, no matter where you come from, the smallest act of kindness can lead to the greatest story of all.